Who would you rather go into a fight against? A Loxodon or a Centaur or a Minotaur?
I'd probably say Loxodon because I feel like a Minotaur is going to be far more ragey. I feel like there may be a solution
where there's going to be a whole lot more gore with a Minotaur.
Because they can gore, I get it. But the Loxodons, I might be able to talk my way out of that.
Loxodons also have tusks.
I know they do, but I feel like there is a root of diplomacy there that you're not going to get out of a Minotaur.
I'm going to say Minotaur, because I think I can outsmart the Minotaur. All I have to do is be able to dodge the charge, and I've done that in enough video games to know that I just got to hit them on the way by, and I'll kill them at about the 6th one.
Death by 1,000 cuts?
Well, or 6 at the very least. Which one, Casey?
Not even touching Centaur.
No, 4 hooves, you toast.
Yeah, they're just going to trample you.
No, what are we going to do? Fight a horse? You can fight a horse, you can fight a really jacked dude. No, I got a better idea. Fight both at once. Fuck that, I'm not dealing with that. Also, I'm going to be distracted by the first, 10 minutes by the fact that they don't wear pants. And I'm still not certain where the genitals are on a centaur.
I got a lot of questions about centaurs, and I think you could do a whole episode on it.
I would pick Loxodon. Yeah.
I just believe in myself against the Minotaur. Also, I mean, if I'm going to fight the Minotaur, I'm just going to turn around and walk out of the labyrinth.
Welcome to the It's a Mimic podcast, where you never know what you're going to get.
Welcome to another It's a Mimic episode where we continue our conversation on playable races in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I am Adam, and with me today are Casey and Dave, and this episode is called Gathering the Magic Races, Part 1. Did you like that, Dave?
Yeah, it was great.
Gathering the Magic?
No, I don't get it.
All right.
Oh,
okay.
God. In this episode of the It's a Mimic podcast, this panel of Dungeon Masters will be sitting down to look at 3 of the Ravnica playable races that were introduced in Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica.
In today's episode, we're going to be covering the Simic Hybrid, which focuses on grafting parts of aquatic animals onto your person. In real life, what aquatic animal feature would you choose to add to your body? Roll for it?
Let's roll.
All right. Go ahead.
10 to 1, Dave says egg sack. Well, Dave, we were tied at 8, and you bumped us to a 14 and a 20.
Yeah,
so.
I got the 14.
No, you got the 7.
No, I was red.
I was yellow.
You were red?
Yeah, I'm
yellow.
yellow.
You got bumped down. Oh, well, shit. I'm going first.
Yeah.
I feel like gills is too obvious. What's a jellyfish stinger? I want a jellyfish stinger.
Why?
Yikes.
What good is that to you? At least gills allow you to not drown.
Sure, but
that's pretty good compared to a stinger.
I can sting people.
And then what? You just want to sting Dan and then pee on him.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that cures it, right?
That's what I hear. That's what you're going to tell Dan.
I don't need a stinger. Okay, I'll come up with something better then.
Yeah.
I would have the anglerfish light.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's what I would have.
Yeah, okay.
Was that yours?
That was going to be mine because I was going to say I'm out in the woods all the time.
Yeah.
And my headlamp, it's good, right? But after an hour or two, the batteries start to fade and it's not as bright as it was. If I just have that thing in front of me.
No. See, some have practical uses. My reasoning for it is I'm going to hide in dark alleyways when people come down and then going to turn it on and grin at them creepily. Scare them and off they go.
You don't need...
No.
You can already do that.
Not with my own angler bulb.
Let's not ever mention your angler bulb again, okay?
Welcome to the podcast, Casey. It's your first episode on the regular channel. Not a special, so this is what you're in for.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like if you guys came on a giant special episode.
Oh, yeah, except we're not going to critique wine and then talk about Big Daddy Frost Giants or whatever.
Could we?
Loincloths, It's wonderful.
All right, so are you just going to say the angler bulb as well? Or something else?
That was going to be my go-to. You sniped it from me. Here, let's circle around.
Okay. As weird as it would look, I wouldn't mind having better angled eyes so that I could see periphery better.
That's not a bad choice. But I feel like you then need to be on a motorcycle. It's not going to help you driving a car.
No, it'd be horrible. But, you know.
Okay. So
Saves,
you
like,
circle
one-
back here. Okay. I don't know what it's called, but like you know how fish.
You want a blowhole, don't you, Dave?
Never mind. You know how fish can like find that way home? They can find like the salmon can like find that creek they were spawned in after being out in the ocean. Like they've got that like
The
ingrained
instinctual
instinct.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, back. I want that. I want to just be able to find my way back. I don't want to, have to rely on,
That is the exact opposite of what I would have expected from you, because you literally told me that you want to go live in the woods and never come back.
But then that can be the place that I go back to, right? Like,
oh, okay.
Right. I want to be able to like have that anchor that I return to, and be able to always figure it out again.
I feel like we're missing shit because octopi have good things, and
You want a beak?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of.
That'd be
Ooh,
alright.
to
I do
ink
now.
Be good
on
for-
demand?
I'm not even touching that one, Casey. That's
Yeah, well, you that one. Okay,
yeah. Moving right along. Like 50% of the human population can already do that.
Is it inky
be
for you?
better.
Hold on, is it inky for you?
So the like swordfish. We went right past swordfish. That would have been cool.
But like, what good is a sword for a nose?
I want to be able to do what a flying fish can do and just like go, like 10 feet in that direction, just like flying. Like that hover ability. You glide across the... You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They don't actually fly, but they like...
Just get a wingsuit.
I could just get a wing... Yeah, but I can't just jump off the ground and wingsuit for 10 feet. I jump off the ground and just go, oof, and hit the ground.
Have you tried?
All right, before we go any further in this, let's cut to an ad break.
We've previously covered quite a bit in our discussion on player options in 5th edition. For all of those episodes and more, you can follow or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and dozens of other podcast apps. And if you'd like to support us, you can donate through the website, check out our store, or join the Patreon and get access to other episodes and series. If you'd like to pay for some ad space on It's a Mimic, or just send a shout out to a friend, please reach out to us through our email and website that are listed in the show notes below.
Hey everyone, I know that the last couple of weeks have been a little bit wonky. I did a bunch of traveling, and then I got home just in time to catch the flu. So I'm now 98% back up on my feet, and we're going to get back into our regular release schedule as well as making up for the lost time. So instead of me listing out all of the episodes that are coming, let's lean into the you never know what you're going to get over the next 2 weeks while we play catch up, and there's going to be a ton of episodes hitting the public channel. As far as the Patreon goes, we've actually been able to stay up to date on that, surprisingly. So I hope you enjoy this episode, because I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a double feature this week. So we're talking about 3 of the races from Ravnica, the playable races. And I feel like we're really late on this conversation because this book came out a couple of years ago now, and people have, for the most part, slept on it. Anybody that's regularly listening to this podcast is going to know this is one of my favorite books. I think it's one of the best put together books after Eberron is really full of stuff, but it's very disjointed. This one is put together very, very well. It's got a lot of good shit that you can plug and play. And it's laid out really intelligently, and it's easy to follow.
It is, yeah.
It also has enough useful information, so it's not like Spelljammer or Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, which was, 15% of 1,000 ideas and no actual follow-through. Nothing you can actually use in a campaign, outside of the actual, little adventures in each or the bestiaries that they have. So I really like the Ravnica book. I'm very well versed in it just because I keep going back to it. How well do you guys know Ravnica before we get started?
Not that well.
No?
I just started diving into it after doing podcast stuff. So there was a lot that I haven't read through.
When I started playing Magic the Gathering, Ravnica was just kind of wrapping up a run, and they were getting into Theros. So I'm a little familiar, but not super familiar. Right. Other than that, I've played a couple of races from it here and there, but nothing too crazy.
To give you a really quick breakdown of what we're dealing with here, we've done a whole episode on Ravnica. You can go check it out. It's on our YouTube channel, and of course, that one's the easiest one to find it on. Otherwise, you scroll forever through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, right? So, or one of the millions of other podcast apps we're on. But here's a quick breakdown really quickly. Ravnica is essentially one big city that is the size of a giant, small continent, really. It's massive. It's surrounded by a ring of mountains that keeps everything in. Beyond the mountains is, nobody knows, doesn't matter. It's not part of Ravnica. This is the whole realm. It is run by 10 different guilds, and there are 10 different districts in here. The reason that it's always the number 10 is because there are 5 colors in Magic, and they like to team up, like red, white, black, green, blue, white, blue, green, like...
Yeah, so, the different colors have different themes to them, right?
So that's why there's 10 and 10 again, right? That tends to be a common number in Magic the Gathering. And this was originally created for the collectible card game, and has a rich enough history and enough different aspects to it that it actually makes for a pretty good setting for D&D. However, when I say it's one big city, it's not just like an urban environment, although a lot of it is. There's also like parts of the city are in decay that are getting taken over by like plants and nature and stuff as well. There's entire undercity areas. There's great sweeping plains that exist where parking lots used to, and there are still like decrepit buildings and ruins all over the place. So it's not simply just downtown, but a magical setting. There's more to it than that.
Yeah, there's underwater parts too, right?
Yeah,
like
there's a huge amount of underwater parts. Like there's a lot of underwater theme with this, and a lot of flying creatures as well, because of a lot of the towers in the urban settings. So we don't get dragons the way that we think about dragons. We get one dragon. There are drakes, but they are like ridden. They fly. They're not the same thing as they are in D&D, right? So they're essentially what we think of as wyverns. So without the poison tail. But there are these 10 guilds that run it, and the guilds are really the most important thing. Not everyone is a part of a guild, but if you are an adventurer or you're important at all, you are part of a guild. So each one of the guilds is run differently. It has a different purpose in Ravnica, and they all have a very, very tumultuous piece. It's hanging by a thread. And the idea is that when you play in this setting, you choose a guild to be a part of, and you go on adventures on that guild's behalf, right? For them. There's a leader of the guild, and then there are, there's a hierarchy, definitely. You may never run into the leader of the guild, and for the most part, the leader of the guild is not necessarily the founder of the guild, because the guilds have been around forever. Some of them are like that, just like the Izzet League is run by the only true dragon in Ravnica that's been around forever. So I'm going to get into it really quickly about what they are. Again, not every person's a part of one of the guilds, and we're not going to be talking about the guilds, but it's good to have kind of a reference point for this stuff to understand the flavor of the world we're talking about, because this isn't the Harpers or the Emerald Claw, right? Like, this is not what we're used to seeing with guilds in D&D. It's a little bit more intensive, and there's a rank system in here. So you rank up as you go. Renown and reputation are big deals in Ravnica. So really quickly, we have the Azorius Senate, and the Azorius Senate is really the lawmakers. The next one is the Boros Legion, and they are the law enforcement. We talked about the Boros Legion. When does this episode come out? We will talk about the Boros Legion. No, wait. We talked about the Boros Legion a few episodes ago. One of our Celestial episodes. We talked a lot about the angels that they have there as well. They're pretty righteous, and they rule with an iron fist. There's House Demir, which is all about the business of information, and they're all about spycraft. We have the Golgari Swarm, which is a little bit different. These guys are underground, and they have they're run by an elf lich, who is, again, not necessarily evil, or if evil, not necessarily looking over to take over the world or trying to kill everybody. He's just running his guild. But everybody in the Golgari Swarm is a little bit decayed, a little bit rotten, a little bit...
I was going to say infested.
Yeah, and it's not just like maggots and stuff, though. It's also like fungus or...
I was thinking it would be a good like Circle of the Spore Druid kind of feel.
Is this the book where Circle of the Spore Druid came from?
I have no idea.
I think it might be, actually. Yeah, it is, actually.
Well, there you go. See, I'm just that good.
Yeah.
There are the Gruul clans, and the Gruul clans are actually a bunch of small barbarian, like ranging clans that are out there beyond the city limits they're anarchists. And the clans operate as one unit when dealing with the other guilds, but then amongst themselves, they're their own smaller clans as well. There's the Is It League, which is about as scientific and engineering as you can get in the name of magic. So they're going to take different kinds of magic and slam them together and see what the fuck happens. It's pretty wild. You would expect gnomes would be really at home here, if gnomes existed in Ravnica. There's the Orzhov Syndicate, which is, if you were to take the Mafia and the Catholic Church and slam them together, I know you're thinking, yeah, it already is a Mafia. But no, seriously, if it was like an undead pseudo-religion that was based on debts and owing people and favors and indentured servitude, I think, Casey, actually, you're going to run into this in the undead section because they're run by a council of ghosts.
Cool.
We also have the Cult of Rakdos, which is an evil carnival that loves blood orgies.
Who doesn't?
Okay. Then we have the Celestia Conclave, which is where your druids come from normally. These are the plants and dryads and treants and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I think that they are run by some like really high-powered dryads and like arch-druids and shit as well. So, and then we have the Simic Combine, which is its own crazy shit that I think, Dave, you're going to cover in a little bit more depth later.
A little bit.
The idea here is that they like to graft animal parts onto themselves to make themselves better. And they're pretty aquatic themed, right?
Yep.
So there we go. That's the 10 guilds. As you can imagine, they all bring something different to the table, to the like landscape of Ravnica and what the citizens can turn to for different resources and different things or services that they might need. And there is a base common level of just eking out a normal existence and a regular life for most people. But we're D&D players, so like it's not going to be a normal quiet life. It is going to be, we're part of the Is It League and we're blowing shit up. We want to see what happens. We jam snow inside lightning. Or we are over in the Simic Combine where we're just going to be like, hey, you know what? That guy doesn't have enough crab eyes on his face. Let's do that for a bit. Right? So there's just some weird shit going on in the background. You know what we need to do? We need to make everything rot. Okay.
Love it.
So it's really different flavors than we're used to in D&D, but one of the big things that's a difference that I want to touch on for this episode specifically is the fact that the playable races are radically different here. Now, the playable races are radically different in Eberron as well as Greyhawk. And
but not like this.
Not like this.
Yeah.
So let me get into it. First and foremost, there are no dwarves, halflings, gnomes, tieflings, dragonborn, orcs, or the half and halves. Those from the Player's Handbook do not exist in Ravnica. There's also none of the stuff from Volo's Guide to Monsters or Spelljammer or like all of the other ones that are out there. They don't exist here. Even
your type of elves are limited.
Yes. Yeah, we don't get sea elves here. We don't get Eladrin. But what we do get are centaurs and minotaurs as well. We're not going to be talking about them today. But we do get them here, and it was Ravnica that introduced them as a medium size. And as much as everybody railed against it when it happened, including me, it makes a hell of a lot of sense. And I do like having two different versions of them to play with in my campaigns. That way I can have a large-sized, scary-ass Minotaur, as well as Minotaur NPCs and players, right? So, without having to deal with all of that level adjustment shit that we had to go through in previous editions.
Oh, it was fine.
You guys can't see Dave deadpanning me with this.
Oh yeah, the level adjustment system was great.
You want to be a level 1 barbarian, but you want to be a Minotaur because you're large size too. You have everybody else in the party is going to be level 3. You start at level 1 because you had bonus shit. So your level progression is stunted as a result.
Yeah, essentially your race was so powerful that it was like having 3 levels of a class. So your level 1 base was essentially level 4. So
I would hate that.
Some of them got out of hand. I think the Centaur in particular was a level adjustment of 8.
Yeah. So
like it gets
no.
3.5 got out of hand. This is a game you could do 1,500 damage in a round, no problem.
Oh yeah, and everybody is.
Yeah.
But also you can get one shot, like
no problem. Yeah.
And if you want to grapple, everybody buckle up. It's going to take 3.5
Yeah, we're going to bust out the books, all of them,
all 900 of the books. All right. So what do we have to play? We have humans. Humans are still the majority here, but only by like a slight margin. They're not the like overwhelming majority that we get in some of the other areas, some of the other campaign settings. Humans didn't found a single one of the 10 guilds, and they don't run any of them. Except there are some human ghosts in the Obsidat Council, which runs the Orzhov Syndicate, like I mentioned. But they are present in every guild, and they're the only race that is present in every guild. So if you wanted to be able to like change guilds, there's rules, there's punishments for that, like don't do that. But humans probably the way to do that if you wanted to infiltrate. I assume there's a lot of them in House Dimir. When it comes to elves, we get high elves, but they've all essentially been transformed into Simic hybrids. There's not a whole lot of high elves left, and the ones that are still around that you could tell are high elves are like gaunt and weird looking and pale, and they're losing what makes them elves through experimentation. Wood elves are tied to the Celestia Conclave, which is the druidy one. That makes a whole lot of sense. But drow is not a word in Ravnica. They do have dark elves, but they're called Devkarin elves. Do you remember we did the Devkarin Lich?
Yeah.
Right? So I think the Devkarin elves are like the evil kind of elves, except they're still underground. They tend to be aligned with the Golgari swarm, and they are basically the same coloration as wood elves. So they don't even look like drow the way you think. They're just dark elves. Elves in Ravnica don't have family names. So that's another interesting different thing about them, is they've kind of given up that nature, and they get a little bit like they're weird in Ravnica. All of them have a gimmick to them.
They weren't exactly that normal in the other kinds.
No, but like they're even more alien in this setting.
Yeah.
And then there's goblins. Goblins in this is going to sound relatively familiar, but crank it up to 11. They're impulsive, highly emotional, and prone to acts of destruction. And whereas your regular goblin is prone to acts of destruction, like they're going to hit you with the mallet, no, these ones are going to light the black powder and roll it into the market. So they like pranks, they're quick to cower in fear, and they tend to appreciate it when other people suffer. There are no other goblinoids. No hobgoblins, no bugbears, no verdin, just goblins. And they fill the roles of the other goblinoids as well. They're closely tied to the Izzet League, where the like curious nature of the verdin fits in. The Gruul clans, where bugbears would fit in. And the Rakdos cult, where regular goblins would fit in. But sometimes they're also a part of the Boros Legion, where they are like, they've learned that they need more purpose to their destruction, and so that's where the hobgoblins would normally fit in. But no, they're just goblins. The cool thing about them is that they've all got really weird goblin names too. Like normally, goblin names are pretty like underwhelming. They're usually funny, like Boblin the Goblin, or they're like, my name is Schmeck, right? Like there's not a whole lot to them. But these ones have really weird ones. They're all X's and V's and Z's, like Kalazax and Vazuzav, and like they've all got really fucking weird names.
Yeah, I got a card named Krenko. Yeah.
Krenko is actually one of the main NPCs.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
The adventure in Ravnica is called Krenko's Way, and it takes you from level 1 to 3. You dick around with Krenko for a bit.
I have a goblin deck. It's all goblins, and it's an all red deck. And my God, is it so much fun? No, it is so much fun. It's all like 1 mana, and they all do like 1/1 damage. But you get so many fucking goblins out, they just swarm you to death. Right? You can put out as many 6/6 creatures as you want. They're blocking 1 goblin every turn, and you're getting hit by 15 of them. They are just like the definition of chaos. Right? Yeah, they just
like overwhelm, and that's how they conquer.
Yeah, you got to get it done, right? And it's great.
So there are 3 other playable races. Those are the ones we're going to be talking about today. So let's grab our dice and see who's going to talk first. It will be red this time. And
Ooh,
we tied.
All right, roll off. I'm going to laugh at a 3.
Ooh, 16 again.
Oh, and a 1.
All right, Dave, you're first. Bring us home. What do we got?
All right, so I got the Simic Hybrid, but before we talk too much about it, you got to understand what the Simic Combine is. Okay, now, again, we just went over. It's one of the guilds, okay? There is little known about the founder of the guild, except that Simic was either their first or last name. That's it. That's all they know. The original mission was to oversee the idea of public health in Ravnica but that slowly got transformed into the idea of, doing like biological experimentation and stuff like
Through
that.
vaccines!
Yeah, it turned into the belief.
No, okay.
Yeah, right.
Never mind, moving on.
I hate that. It turned into the belief that in order to thrive, nature and civilization needed to cooperate, and they were trying to rush that along. Okay, so kind of a strange little idea. They did have two main goals that they work on. One of them goes by hold fast, and it's the idea of to stay rooted. The Simic Combine is essentially like an underwater. They deal mostly underwater. Most of their creatures are underwater creatures. It's very underwater oriented. So
are they underwater, Dave?
yeah, a little bit underwater.
Okay.
They're very moist. Okay. But so the hold fast idea is like kind of in line with the kelp and the other like sea sponges attached to the ground. Stay rooted in your beliefs. Don't become adrift from nature. Right.
Like a barnacle.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other goal is upwelling, which is named after the process of the nutrient-rich water coming to the top, right? And it's kind of the idea of let the new, do away with the old, and have
like
that.
a recycling of the cycling of water.
Yeah. So they call that a hold fast and upwelling. Okay. The hold fast is to promote nature. Upwelling is to perfect nature.
Sure.
If that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in the Simic Combine, there's...
Pretty sure those are both sex moves, but okay, keep going.
Yes?
But I said keep going.
Anyways.
That's right,
So
keep going.
inside the Simic Combine, there is a faction called the Adaptationists, which is just an absolute wanky name.
Yeah, that is the
like, what do you call yourself? We call ourselves the Adaptationists. Right? Like, fuck off.
You know they have drum circles.
Oh, yeah. These guys are just the wankiest wanks. They believe that guild wars are inevitable, okay? There's a lot going on in the political landscape of Ravnica.
I'm sorry, like Guild Wars, like that ad that keeps popping up every time I'm on Reddit. Guild Wars.
It's inevitable. They'll get you.
Yeah.
But there's a lot going on in the political landscape that I'm not going to get into, but they really do believe that there's an all-out guild war coming. And to prepare for this, one of the scientists of the Simic Combine have started what they call the Guardian Project. And that's where they got these Simic hybrids, is from the Guardian Project. They want to make these biological hybrids specifically from humans, high elves, and Vedalken.
It's Vedalken. I know, to be further, I've been saying Vedalken until I did the research for this episode. Vedalken.
I'm going to screw that up in perpetuity.
I innately thought Vedalken.
There you go. Hey.
Yes. For once.
All right, you
I
win
have
the
a
podcast.
pronunciation.
All right, well then here,
Pronunciation.
you do the rest of this.
Did you say the pronunciation?
Yes.
All right. That was quite the meteoric rise and fall.
Yeah. I digress.
Nothing gold can stay.
No.
But yeah. So they take those three races that I'm not going to pronounce properly, and combine them with various sea creatures to make the Simic hybrids, in the anticipation of this coming guild war. In fact, some Simic hybrids will refer to themselves as guardians.
Okay,
which was really interesting because the Vedalken are blue skinned, right?
Yeah.
And could be guardians, and you just made Bob.
From Reboot?
Reboot, yeah. Right.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
right.
It doesn't seem like there necessarily is a lot of consent with these animals and races being combined, or are there, it's like, oh, you are a willing participant.
The races are certainly, like the humanoid creatures are certainly willing participants.
The animals not so much.
No, I would imagine. It doesn't say that specifically anywhere, but if they don't say it, they're really saying,
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
This is some fucking SeaWorld shit we're doing right now.
Oh, it's SeaWorld meets the island of Dr. Moreau. Yeah.
As we say in Canada, everyone loves Marine Land.
Yikes. Yikes. So anyways, because of this hybridization that they go through, it's kind of hard to pin down what a standard Simic hybrid looks like. No two are the same. They are almost always part of the Simic Combine. You are going to find very few Simic hybrids that are not part of the Combine. They do exist, but if they exist outside of the Combine and that guild, then most other guilds are not going to be quick to trust them.
Sure, unless they were like flipped or turned, or like I could see them working for House Demir, but nobody knows it.
Yeah, like there's certainly routes to go, but if you're gonna play a Simic Hybrid, 9 out of 10 times you're probably gonna
Hold
be
fast.
part of or Upwell, whichever tickles your. Never mind.
Your barnacle.
I lost the metaphor ages ago. Let's just keep moving on here. The other thing that you should know about them is that they do mostly keep their original name, like from when they were humanoid. But sometimes they do elect to take names that will reflect the transformation that they've made.
What? Like my name is Clawfist.
I guess.
Taserface. Like, is that?
Yes, it does specifically say that some of them name themselves, but some of them were named by their creators.
Sure.
So get as fun with it as you want, I suppose. Okay. Other than that, you would think that being human Vedalken or High Elf would give you some sort of stat advantage going into this, but it does not. The stat increases you get are a +2 to con and a +1 to any other stat. Okay? And that doesn't matter what previous race you are.
Well, you're replacing whatever it was with the Simic Hybrid, right? Like.
Yeah. They age about the same at the same rate as the original race. However, it does specifically say that it is accelerated, so they tend not to live quite as long. However, the Guardian Project has not been around for very long, so the information behind it is quite scarce. Nobody quite really knows too much. They are medium creatures. They have a speed of 30 feet. They get dark vision. They speak Common and Elven or Vedalken, your choice. And where they get really interesting, though, is their enhancements, where they get their animal features. They get 2, one at level 5. Sorry, one at level 1, one at level 5. The level 1s, you get to pick one of them. You get Manta Glide. Now, this essentially negates the first 100 feet of fall damage due to your ray-like fins. Okay, so you get these little fins that stick out the side, and they allow you to essentially glide. They do not.
What you talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do not let you fly, though. Specifically, do not let you fly. And it gets even more granular with, for every 2 feet of horizontal movement, it costs 1 foot of vertical movement. So you can really play with the gliding aspect.
So if you fall 100 feet, you can go 200 feet that way.
Yes.
So you can essentially double your horizontal movement by jumping off of something.
And you're not going to take any fall damage. But if it goes 110 feet, you're going to take 1d6.
Muffin.
Right?
Okay, yeah, sure. Why not?
So that's not so bad.
No.
That's way better than the next one, Nimble Climber. You get a climb speed that equals your walk speed.
Hey, you know what? There will be some times when that matters, it fucking matters.
Sure, but the third one you get is Underwater Adaptation, which allows you to breathe air and water and gives you a swim speed equal to your walk speed. Why would you take Climb? Right? You can either do Glide super far or Underwater like breathing underwater and air.
Fair.
If you're going to be in how many? You get one of these or two of these?
One of these. At first level, you get to pick one of these. There are 3 more you get to pick from at 5th level at all.
If I'm going to be out in the plains area, the ruins and stuff, I might want to climb because I'm not going to really be able to use the Manta Glide.
Sure, this is one of those things that
if you know what you're in for.
Yeah, you're gonna kind of know where you're gonna be. If you're gonna be underwater, you probably take the underwater. If you're gonna be on the side of cliffs, you take the glide, right?
Like Climb is going to be the best thing for Tomb of Annihilation, right? Or Curse of Strahd, I guess, because there's some place, some crypty underground kind of things. You might want to scale the cliff face that has the Castle Ravenloft on it. Like Climb might be useful there. But yeah, most of the time.
But this is the ability you're going to pick when you make your character at first level and you're stuck with it the whole time.
Yeah.
Right? I'm probably not going to pick the Climb one.
Again, depends on the campaign I'm going to play.
I guess. Anyways, the 5th level abilities are Carapace, which gives you a +1 to AC as long as you're not wearing heavy armor. Okay?
I was going to say the Artificers just got real excited, but yeah, there we go.
Can't be wearing heavy armor, yeah.
There's one thing I've learned to hate recently, Casey. It's armors. Casey. AC 21 at level 5. Casey.
Must be nice.
I will not apologize for my choices.
But
Badass.
But
you're still getting knocked down, yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting targeted, that's why.
Back tactics are a bitch.
Yeah.
Glad I can fly. The second ability you can choose at 5th level is grappling appendages. You have 2 arm-like appendages that kind of like stick off. They're related to your arm. They don't stick out the side of your rib cage like Prince Gordo from Mortal Kombat.
Sure, yeah.
But, they kind of like come off of the top of your arm. And they can either be like a claw or a tentacle. So we're sticking with that underwater theme here, okay? As an action, each appendage can start a grapple, okay? And they are also each a natural weapon. They give you an unarmed strike. They do 1d6 damage, plus your strength damage.
Okay.
And immediately after a successful attack, you can attempt to grapple as a bonus action. The one thing, though, is it does say you cannot wield weapons or magic items or do any, like, fine motor skills. It's not going to open a door. It's not going to turn a key. It's not going to hold your drink.
You smack and rap.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. You pinch, I pinch, and you slap. Right? That's pretty much all they do.
Smack and rap.
The third ability you get is Acid Spit, because I'm sure that's what we needed in this.
Not even touching it.
No.
Keep moving. Yeah.
Up there with ink, right?
Yeah.
As an action, as an action, you can target one creature or object. Must be able to see it within 30 feet.
We don't objectify
That's pretty
creatures.
good range, 30 feet.
30 feet? That's okay.
Well, I'm thinking even with like most Dragonborn breath weapons, you're only getting 15 out of it, right?
What's Acid Splash? Acid Splash, like the cantrip. It's not 30 feet, is it?
I don't know off the top of my head. It might be.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
We will be told.
We will be told.
I'm looking it up.
While you look it up, the Acid Spit, it's not an attack. It's not a ranged attack. The target gets to make a dex save. The idea is that this is kind of like a fine-tuned attack, right? More like an arrow.
Oh, shit. Acid Splash is 60 feet.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, shit. Yes.
But it's not an attack. It makes a save, right? Yeah, it's a dex save.
Yeah, this is the same idea. This is kind of like a targeted, more of an arrow than a splash, right?
Okay.
Is this a line? A 30-foot line? Or
No,
it
it's more like a glob that you're going to get. You could...
Oh, okay.
I would allow my players to shoot that at handcuffs or manacles and try to melt through it. It's going to have a high AC and maybe a chance to hit their friend in the manacles, but it's the targeted idea, right?
Gotcha.
At first level, it does 2d10 damage on a failed save. The dex save is 8 plus your con save plus your proficiency modifier. So not bad considering you get the +2 con to begin with. It kind of plays to that strength.
Yep.
And that increases to 3d10 at 11th level and 4d10 at 17th level. So that's kind of nice. Again, you're not going to get this until 5th level. So that's why it comes out hitting hard.
It's always so fucking weird that they have paired acid with water in D&D. How many acidic things are there under the ocean? There's venomous, there's toxic, there's poisonous, but that's poison. That's not acid. It's just always interesting. Or it could even be necrotic, but not acid.
Poison would make more sense.
Yeah, it's just interesting. And the only time it's ever made sense to me was one of the big elementals, the big water elemental, was doing acid damage. But that's because it was like, you'd get caught in its space, it would flay the skin off of you. Like it was just rushing boiling water and just pulling it off your body, right? Like that was the flavor of it. For the most part, acid and water, I don't know why they did it. Somebody hit us up in the comments somewhere. Like, why acid and water? Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one. What aquatic creature spits acid?
But, like, you see it around the corners of 5th edition, all over the place. Acid and water creatures go together.
I think it might just be one of those, we need to throw it in somewhere. What haven't we done in a while? Throw some acid in there. It doesn't not fit. It doesn't particularly fit, but, Yeah,
it's not like you're doing cold damage on a fire creature, right? Like, It's not diametrically opposed, but still, it's an odd one. It doesn't sit right with me, and I'd like to know the mentality. I want it to make sense somehow.
Yeah, the only other 2 pieces of information about the acid spit are that you get a number of times equal to your con modifier, and or you regain them all on a long rest, specifically, not a short rest. So it's...
How much damage does it do?
2d10, but you get it at 5th level, and then it increases again at 11th to 3d10 and 4d10 at 17th level.
You're going to use this frequently enough. Like, that's not going to be your go-to move, but you'll probably see it once every couple sessions.
If I'm going to use my 5th level ability, I'm going to be using it often. So I'll probably...
Yeah, but you're going to outpace it depending on your abilities, right? Like...
Yeah, I mean, these guys really swing martial, right?
Because of the grapple shit?
Yeah, because of the grapple stuff. So it's kind of nice to have the idea of grappling something and being able to spit as well, right? or be able to grapple something and still have a slam attack, or your unarmed attack hitting as well.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all there is for the Simic Hybrid.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, well, max out at 5th level, yeah. We don't tend to get more racial shit after 5th level.
No, everything else is class-based, right?
Yeah. All right, well, let's grab dice, because I got questions. I'll
Okay.
pick a yellow one this time.
A red.
All right, Casey, you're going first.
Nice.
I critically failed.
Yes. Do you have any quest ideas about these guys? Some that you would build, and not just a quest, but like a plot hook or a encounter that you would throw together? Like, what stands out as being fun Simic Hybrid shit?
Okay. Well, I like how many of them could look similar, but depending on what you select out of those options, they can be actually quite different in their attacks abilities. For this, I would say it could easily go into your navigating to try and find some sort of mad wizard, red wizard, and you need to come into some catacombs, and you end up going underwater in a dungeon, and you find the horde of creatures. And maybe the rejects, maybe they're actually really nice, and so they're like, it's like Toy Story. Where...
If you look at the bestiary in here, there are rejects. There are like horrifying monsters in here.
Yeah, the Simic Combine's underwater, and there's like 9 different like tunnels and chutes, and there's laboratories all over each one of them. So like it makes
there's a full dungeon.
Oh yeah, you're hitting the nail. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I'm not thinking too far out of the box, but that is like a very interesting way to encounter bizarre creatures. And I think if you go further and further in, you might get the larger and larger, more like disturbing ones. And I would actually make them nice. And if you talked to them, you
getting Frankenstein vibes here.
they might actually become an ally, but most people won't because they're scary looking. That's what I would do.
All right.
I am absolutely, as a player here, I'm going to come to the table with I did not want this done to me. I want revenge. The interesting thing here about the experimentation and like the saving of people and whatnot, you know, like it feels very Frankenstein and sci-fi and kind of cool with the... There's also the darker side where I'm thinking of like Joseph Mengele, who was doing like actual experiments on twins in Nazi concentration camps.
Interesting. I listened to the Behind the Bastards on him like a week ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yeah,
good timing then. He's a fucking crackpot.
Yeah.
And they had some just wild experimentation for the sake of experimentation. And that was like not really founded on science as much as it was what happens if we stitch 2 people together, right? Like, and specifically twins, because they had like a control sample as well, like fucking weird and horrible shit. And I think that if I'm going to be a player that comes to the table with, I hate the Simic Combine, look what they did to me, as I want my DM to lean into the evil of it, right? They're trying to save the world through eugenics.
You're going to give
and
the
like,
Simic Hybrid a twin that's not a Simic Hybrid?
Yeah. Oh, like the left half of him is a tentacle stuff. Well, the right half is also wandering around somewhere with a bunch of crab bits on him, right? Like, I would absolutely do that kind of crazy body horror shit, but I would lean into the pure evil behind that kind of science.
Yeah, I think there is like some evil rooted here. I think that when you get to the bottom of it, if I was going to do a campaign, I would probably base it on the adaptationists and find that they are these evil people that are planning to overthrow this Guardian project. Is, you know, them getting their agents out into the world and you know, maybe shutting that down or something before, you know, everything goes tits up.
There are a number of things in Ravnica. Every one of the guilds feels like it could be real evil with just a small tweak, right?
Yeah, the whole world feels just a hair off, right?
Yeah, but like that makes me think that the propaganda machine is going full tilt in this world. Every guild is spreading lies and rumors about every other guild, and to make them seem more evil than they actually are. Like this could feel like a really dark, almost neo-noir kind of world as well, where like you're in the back alleys of the rainy city trying to get information out of a fence right? Who's sitting there and I'm no stoolie, but like you need to find out what's going on down at the docks with the Simic Combine, and like it could get fucking wild here. And I really like that kind of flavor. Casey, do you have any role-playing tips for either dealing with NPCs or as a player dealing with Simic Hybrids?
Don't forget about the abilities you have, because they're pretty interesting. I think I really liked your idea of them not being happy with what was done to them, like being resentful. And they might even you might even play it to try and be hiding what happened to them for as long as they possibly can. And then they reveal it later on. They could have a side agenda. You could have a side agenda of trying to seek out who your creator was.
Could you imagine if you played a warlock who was a Great Old One or a Fathomless warlock, because they're the water themed ones, right? And you're actually gung ho. Like flip it the other direction. You're gung ho about it. I prayed to this underwater kraken or whatever it is, and they gave me all these powers. And look, now I got tentacles. How great are these guys? You guys should join up. And just consistently trying to get the rest of the party to, hey, you want to swim speed? Hey, you want to be able to spit acid? You know what I can do with this claw, right? Like that could be wild too. Like I love the idea of going kind of dark with it, but you can go zealot cultist dark with it too in the other direction.
Yeah. Imagine having both of those players in the party. One that's resentful, and I've seen this in shows too. The like soldier that's resentful, and then the soldiers that is like gung ho for whatever. Role play those two together.
And there are spells like modify memory and shit as well that are really insidious that your players will never pick. They'll skim right over it in the PHP, but then you like apply it to plots like this. That's fucking dark.
Yeah, you could do a whole like Wolverine plot like this, only instead of metal claws, it's actual Wolverine. Because I would certainly reskin this or allow my players to reskin this within reason, right? You know, like there's a lot you can do with just, you don't necessarily, I wouldn't keep them beholden to the underwater theme. I would probably let them play with it a little bit. Within reason.
Yeah, I might let them do reptile, amphibian.
Yep. Maybe
Maybe even some bird if it's like sea birds, like gulls and cranes and things, but I'm probably not going to let them be a lion.
No, that's fair.
No, for role-playing though, the one thing that I want to think about is tentacles dry out and they get gross. If you have acid spit...
You should see a doctor.
Tentacles, Dave.
Is that...
All right. If you have acid spit, I bet your voice is hoarse and you're talking like a chain smoker the whole time. And like your lips are cracked. Maybe even they've burned away a little bit so your teeth are always showing. Right?
Ooh.
Like, I would get fucking gross with this. I absolutely would. And maybe just always have that kind of like the wet mouth kind of feel to everything you're saying. Because they've like given you gills and shit too, right?
I don't like that, but yes.
Right? But like it feels like I really want to do gross things with these guys.
Yeah, they can be a little gross. I like the idea of when these guys hit that 5th level side, they get another ability. Is that like imprinted into them genetically when they go through this process and they just like grow these appendages? This is my roleplay opportunity here because they're in the middle of a battle. They're level 4. They're about to hit level 5. All of a sudden in battle, oh, by the way, you start to feel this burning sensation, you know, in your neck. And you're going to throw them off, right? They're not going to know what the hell that's about, what's going on. Well, you're about to level. That's great. Cool. But, you know, you can kind of engineer that to be a little fun. And again, you can get really gross with it, too. The idea of just the tentacles coming out of your arms
like suddenly
and stuff.
Sprouting out of your shoulders.
Yeah, right? Like, there's that transformation that I think there's a really good opportunity there. You can have fun with that.
Yeah. It's gross.
Yeah.
So, one of the goblinoids, the Verdun from Acquisitions Incorporated, I don't remember if it's level 3 or level 5, but they go from a small creature to a medium creature almost overnight. At that level up. Just bam, now they're this tall. And there's no real rhyme or reason, except it's in their chaotic nature, right? Which is kind of their whole backstory. And we covered this in one of the goblinoid episodes. But I love the idea of, this shit is just implanted in there. And that one day, when you least expect it, bam, suddenly new ability.
But I love the idea of it being experience because mechanically there's a point, but biologically there isn't. So
It's just second puberty, Dave.
I guess.
When your tentacles drop.
When you get those acid glands in the back of your throat.
Again, I'm not even touching it. Moving on. Casey, do you have any like exploration tips about how you or clues that you would know that one of these guys is around, or how are they affecting the world around them?
Oh, I hate going first. Okay. Exploration clues for these guys. I don't know. I feel like lots of times they wouldn't really want to be found necessarily if you're going to encounter them. You're probably going to be going somewhere with a lot of just general fuckery. And that's what's going to be the indicator of it is it's like, I don't know what we're going to encounter in here. And then you might hear some like clicking sounds of like the crustacean pieces.
Yeah.
And then you're going to just see a fin kind of move along and you realize that it's like somebody's arm that they're moving themselves along with.
Yeah, I feel like you're right. As Dave said before, they tend to stick with the Simic Combine, right? Like they're not gonna be way out in the desert anywhere dicking about, right? Like you're going to find them in their home. You go to them, they don't come to you, unless they fucking want something.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's my quest: is that there's a bunch of high elven children that have gone missing. That's what brings us into this.
They've been taken as subjects.
It didn't, when I was going through the Simic Combine, it didn't seem like the hybrid, the people taking part of the Guardian Project, it didn't seem like they were necessarily unwilling.
No, for the Guardian Project, no. But you got to assume there's more shit going on behind the scenes.
Sure, yeah, there could be a dark side underbelly, yeah.
Well, and I kind of like the idea of, like, when you're talking about the 5th level, just selections just emerging.
Yeah.
Like, you could have one of these in your party, and perhaps the creator's agenda is that they put a memory in every one of the creatures that they've created that when, like, they gain whatever ability.
The Manchurian Candidate, they just poof, and it goes.
And then, yeah. And then they are also told they need to return to wherever.
Oh, okay,
So then at one point, when your party levels up to 5th level, suddenly the Simic Hybrid has this strong urge you must return back to where it came from, and your whole party
like a salmon.
like the instinctual I must return. And then you end up back there, and then the rest of the party sees.
That's interesting. The adaptationists,
no small fry.
The adaptationists are sending out these characters or these creatures to gain experience and level up, and then when they become powerful, they come back and put them in stasis for the eventual guild war. Oh.
Yeah.
I also feel like them being like the guild war is coming is actually pretty good. Like that's common sense. The guild war is coming.
It is coming, yeah.
So the way the Ravnica works, that there was a planeswalker, which is just this guy that can travel between universes, and he showed up and he's like, all right, everybody behave, stop fighting each other, here's what's called the guild pact, everyone behave. As long as everyone respects the guild pact, all of the guilds are good. All right, peace, yes, good. All right, I'm leaving again, good luck with this. And so that's where we are in the story, right? So
yeah, I believe they refer to him as the Guild Pact Incarnate, and because he's now absent, things are all up in the air and war is coming.
Yeah. So
Shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it should have been, is an electric eel thing. I could shock people when I wanted.
Yeah, that would be a good
Again,
one.
I'm only going to use this shit to annoy Dan. Like, there's no reason for me to get anything else here. So, for exploration and clues, I don't, like, honestly, I was going to say, like, you're just going to find a bunch of sea creatures around, right? Like, you know that you are in Simic Combine territory when there are starfish that are, like, at the bottom 3 feet of, like, the exterior of every building, right? There's just a handful of barnacles on, like, in the gutter of the sidewalk. There's just going to be that feeling, everything smells salty and like the ocean, like briny salty here. I just want there to constantly be that feel of you're not in a regular city. You are in a coastal town, a port area, and it should feel that way. I'm totally going to pull these guys out and change things in Ghost of Saltmarsh too. Like, these things should be dicking about in Ghost of Saltmarsh.
Yeah, like I'm sensing too, they could be a whole pirate ship.
This is the Pirates of the Caribbean crew, right?
Yeah. Davy Jones's crew.
Yeah. The exploration, I was thinking that this would kind of be a neat opportunity to, you guys have to find the Vedalken with, you know, his right claw is bigger than the other, skill challenge kind of idea.
Oh, you're hunting down the right kind of...
Yeah. And then, you know, you can, that guy's got a big left claw, not a big right claw. And like, you know...
Depending on how the skill challenge goes.
Yeah, you can see how that works. It's just an interesting idea.
Hunting down the appropriate... Yeah.
Combination, right?
Oh my god. Oh, okay. So there was a murderer who and like you're hunting the murderer down.
It was the one-clawed man.
No. He ran to the Simic Combine, and the only way you knew it was him was because he had a tattoo in his left hand. And now you're in the area and everybody has tentacles for left arms, right? Mm-hmm. So that clue is gone now, right? You find the room with severed hands in it. And sure enough, there's the hand. Like, fuck, which one is it now? Right, like there's some cool fucky things to do with these guys. Combat ideas. What's going to make these guys unique? Besides, clearly they grapple real well.
Yeah. Well, typically, if you're going to be fighting in some kind of water, that's probably not going to be the party's forte. So you get to play around with a lot of that. The ones that have spells for
what class would you
breathing.
Pick for fighting with one of these guys? Like. What class should they be?
Oh, jeez.
I said Warlock before, which could fit depending on your build.
Monk be awesome.
I was thinking Monk as well.
Well, grapple and
the acid
strikes.
spit
at
the distance without taking up key points. Like Monk would be pretty badass.
Yeah, just hold on to one and keep wailing on it. Yeah.
Well, I like the idea
wailing on it.
I like the idea of grappling, but still being able to hit with your sword or your axe, and you're still raging as a barbarian or a fighter or something like that, right?
I can also see a druid, like a water-themed druid as well, because there are some water spells for them. There are some options here. There's nothing that's like really great options, but there are options here, right?
Yep.
Any final thoughts on these guys before we move on?
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
All right. Who rolled next? I don't remember what we rolled.
I was last. I got a nat 1 in the jostling.
Right. All right. So I'm going to talk about Vedalken. So Vedalken are unique creatures. When I first saw them, I was like, what the fuck is this? My first introduction to Vedalken was actually a mini that I got. It wasn't actually reading the book or anything, or seeing a magic card. I had no idea what these things were. These guys are roughly in the range of 7 feet tall. They're thin but not gaunt, and they are completely hairless. But the first things that you're going to recognize about them is the fact that they have blue skin, and they have no external ear structures. They just have like ear holes. They also have really broad noses too, but like not to a point where you necessarily think about it at first. It would just be by the 8th one, you're like, oh, you all kind of have the same facial structure, right? So Vedalken like to talk. But they're more interested in concepts and ideas than people or gossip. And they rarely talk about themselves. They're not really so much interested in the thing directly in front of them as more like the broad philosophical idea of things. When it comes with interacting with Vedalken, you're going to make friends with them based on common grounds and shared interests, but also if you have a particularly strong opinion, even if you disagree with them. They love the concept of new ideas, and will mull them over with a cool and calm passion that seems almost off-putting sometimes. One of the most off-putting things about them is how they like to make plans and are willing to invest vast amounts of patience to see them to their fruition. They are almost emotionless robots that will not let go of an idea. Their whole perspective is that nothing is perfect, and they embrace the opportunity to improve everything and explore the concept of progress. So they're not interested in how the thing works. They're interested in how can we make it better. Is the car fast enough? Cool. We can make it go faster, or we can make it more fuel efficient, or we could make it safer. And different Vedalken will latch on to different things, and they will hyper-focus on their one thing and not fucking let it go. They're enthusiastic when it comes to fixing or improving things, even themselves, and they don't actually get downtrodden if they fail or anything. That's an opportunity to learn. I guess that experiment didn't work. Let's try something else. When the barbarian fails to break down the door, don't worry. Now we know how strong the door is. Shall we try popping the hinges? They are incredibly curious, and they are very thorough, and they have a unique kind of discipline. They know that perfection is impossible to achieve, but the act of trying to achieve perfection is what is worthwhile.
Dan would love to play this.
Yeah, I'm glad he doesn't know this exists. This is driving up the
I was actually, when you were talking about the hyperfixation, I was like, yeah, that's Dan. Yeah.
So in Ravnica, sometimes they become lawmakers and philosophers, like with the Azoria Senate, and sometimes they focus on self-improvements and commit to Simic bioengineering, which is what you were talking about before. Occasionally, they will even become members of the Is It League because they get to hyper-focus on specific like magical experimentation as well. But you're not going to find them out with druids or tending gardens, or they don't give a shit. They're out for the big picture, the big idea, or to improve themselves. So, as fucking weird as they are, here's their stats. You get ability score increase of +2 to intelligence and +1 to wisdom. You are medium-sized, 30 feet is your movement speed, and you age a little bit slower than humans do. You reach maturity at around 40, and your lifespan is 350 years, some living as long as 500. So they're long-lived. We lost high elves. These feel like really weird replacements. You get lawful and usually non-evil. Tends to be how they operate. But, I mean, nothing's set in stone. Like I said before, the tall and slender. I'd say that they're roughly 7 feet tall because it specifically says they're like a foot taller than humans. And then it's like, they're 6 to 6.5 feet. What fucking human in D&D is 5 feet tall? Now, we save that shit for elves and half-elves, right? They have what's called the Vedalken Dispassion, which gives you advantage on all intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Oof. That's fucking powerful. They also have tireless precision, which means you are proficient in one of the following skills: Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Performance, or Sleight of Hand. You are also proficient with a single tool of your choice as well. Whenever you make an ability check with the chosen skill or tool, you roll a d4 and then add that number rolled to the check's total.
Sure, pretty standard.
Sure, but like, can you imagine that on a investigation check? That's going to get used all the time. You get an investigation check and you're proficient with it. You already have a +2 to your intelligence, and then...
Yeah, your rogues are drooling right now.
Oh, yeah. And you're also partially amphibious. You absorb oxygen through your skin, out of the water, but it only lasts for an hour. And you can do it once per long rest.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you can essentially breathe underwater for about an hour. You can speak, read, and write Common, Vedalken, and then just one other language of your choice. So that's what I have for Vedalken. They seem really weird.
Yeah, and like, why make them?
If we ask that question on every one of these...
These are absolutely the creators of the Simic hybrids. Like, I feel like these are the ones that...
These and the High Elves got together and thought, how can we make humans better?
Like,
yeah.
They sat there over sushi dinner and went, I got an idea. So, let's grab dice because I got questions. Okay. I grabbed the yellow one this time. 7.
2.
It's me again. God damn it.
So the perfect place, you always want to be in the middle, right? Because if you go last, then...
Everybody steals your ideas.
Yes, yeah. If you go first, you're put on the spot. So, quest ideas for these guys. How would you incorporate... Let's flip it from a DM's perspective to a player's perspective.
Okay.
What's the backstory you're coming to the table with one of these guys? Like, what is your plot hook that you bring to the DM? Also, you can choose to hold your action, which means you go last.
Oh,
True.
gosh.
Yeah.
Really? That's a thing?
Oh, we do that all the time.
I already did it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm doing it now.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
My quest idea, my backstory for these guys, he is determined to know the right way, the appropriate way to bring balance to the guild pack. He knows the guild pact is flawed, but with a couple of tweakings here and there, and if we really hammer out the language of it, and if the Golgari Swarm can sit down for a minute and we can get the Gruul clans to focus for a second, and when everybody gets on the same page, we all understand there's a right legal way to do it. I'm going to come at this as one of the College of Eloquence bard who is just like, listen, we can word this perfectly so it's an airtight legal bond.
God.
And that is, you're always looking for the next thing. So every time that I meet somebody new, every time that I run into, we're down in the Simic Combine. Interesting. And you guys think perfection is through grafting clam bits on your face? What are we doing here? How does this make sense to you? Right? Like, this is your definition of perfection. Weird. How the shit am I going to put that in the Guild Pact? Right? But, like, I think that would be a really interesting and curious and also very... Because he's emotionless as well, he's not going to get, like, too attached to any one idea. The DM is going to be able to get out so much fucking lore through this character. Right?
Yeah.
Which just frustrates you, Dave, but is great for DMs like me.
Yeah, it does. First of all, my big problem with these guys is their amphibious trait. They can breathe water through their skin for about an hour.
Yeah.
Why? Just make them hold their breath for 30 fucking minutes.
Because they don't have like lung capacity to do that. This is just them being able to... There's some creatures that can do this. They just become waterlogged.
I get it, but it seems so goddamn specific for no fucking reason.
Look,
give me rounds, give me hour, give me a specific... Like, this shouldn't be a once-a-day ability, right?
No, then they get waterlogged. They gotta pee it out.
Sure, make that canon, because it probably is for a lot of people now. But it's like, it just doesn't make sense. Just have them... be able to hold their breath for X amount of time. They can hold it for 4 times longer than normal.
Fuck. We already have things that can do that.
But yeah, like...
Are they in Ravnica? Because we're missing a lot of shit and the stuff that we're getting to replace it isn't that enticing.
No, but the Vedalken are in... I could put them in Forgotten Realms. Now the Forgotten Realms says I can't put a Vedalken in there.
Sure, they're like, what's so special about them?
Oh, hold on. Let me tell you all the things they can do, Dave.
Well, it's not that special, right? Like the advantage thing, yeah, that's pretty cool.
On the intelligence, wisdom, and charisma.
Yeah, that's
powerful.
That's what they got, right? That's their thing, right? That's cool and all.
I
why did we need? Are they?
I think
water-based creatures. Like what? Why is it all of a sudden they can sort of breathe through their skin? It just seems like a weird line to draw.
Come into play where it's like, oh, this gives me an advantage over everyone else in the party.
I don't think it's an advantage over everybody else. I think that when you've got a Simic Hybrid in the party, nobody else here, it's not like Tritons are available or CLs or anything else, when the whole party is going to go underwater, because there will be water fights in Ravnica. Somebody else has to be kind of good at this.
This is one of those rules that we're just going to be... We, as our group, are going to treat it as them having water breathing until that one session where it actually comes into play, and then the player gets all shitty about it. It seems like there's just a problem waiting to happen with this. Why did you have to make it this fucking specific? Just give it something ridiculously easy that people can follow. That's what 5th edition is, right? It's supposed to be easily palatable. This is just making it needlessly
I don't know,
complex.
man. I really like it. This is...
I don't dislike it. I just think it's cheap. It's not good enough.
Really?
Yeah.
It seems powerful. Like, overall, it seems relatively powerful. It seems like you have a bunch of cool mechanics. It's got a really interesting lore that makes them unique from everything else, right? To the point, like, they're curious, but they're not fucking Kender, right?
Thank Christ.
We don't have... They're not quite a gnome. They're not quite a Triton or a sea elf. They're, like, they kind of bridge the gap between a lot of different playable race bits and pieces.
But they don't do any of it well.
They do all of it well. What do you mean they don't do any of it well?
They do the advantages well. That's about it.
That beats the shit out of trancing for 4 hours and not being able to be put to sleep, which shows up 3 times in a campaign. Come on now.
Charmed and sleep happens all the time.
Sleep doesn't happen all the time.
Charm does.
Nah, it doesn't matter. These guys, yeah, but does it come up as often as being able to be proficient and add a D4 to investigation? That's fucking huge.
I don't know. It comes up more often than being able to breathe water through your skin for an hour until you can rest again.
Yeah, but I can grab literally any one of the playable races and be like, here's a useless piece of shit that's added to it. Every one of them has just fucking nonsense added to them, right? Like,
yeah, and I'm pointing out this one in particular.
Yeah, I don't know why you honed in on the Vedalken. I just think that You're pissed off because they are a little bit different. Because they're blue, dabu-dee-dabu-die. Casey?
I am so entertained.
So, Casey, do you have any like quest or role play, or not role playing, but like plot hook bits?
Okay, so I think just take a few deep breaths, Dave. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. So I imagine this is gonna probably sound ridiculous. Okay. So I imagine coming across a community where the leader never wanted to be the leader, but was just really good at shit, and so people started following them, and then like, you know, it's like, I'm just gonna set my tent up over here near you, and pretty soon they have this community that they are making the community thrive because they're good at shit and they know shit, and they're like, no, you can do that better, do it this way. But internally they're like slowly dying because they're like, I hate this so much.
Everybody keeps coming to me and talking about their lives, and I don't care.
Yeah. So it's like they're the most amazing leader, but they're actually horrible at the same time. That sounds fun and entertaining.
Yeah, the hyper-focusing side of them just like screams useful yet fucking annoying.
Yeah, and maybe you need to seek out this person, or you just come across this like traveling group that's getting larger and larger, and you have to talk to them, and they're like, please do not join. Please don't tell me
Like
what you're
the
doing.
reluctant cult leader.
Yeah, because it's like, you're going to tell me, and I'm going to know a better way to do it, and then I'm going to help you, and I can't take on anymore.
And the artificer's like, yeah, but I just want to figure out how to.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fuck, all right. And like, you can't keep it to yourself because it's all about progress, right?
Yeah.
So you figured out, you're like, oh, fuck. Give it to me. I'll just show you how to do this really quickly. Do you think they get, Dave, do they think they get frustrated when other people don't understand the things that come to them naturally?
So you're calling me a Vedalken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see right through that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I hate them. It's because I can't breathe underwater for an hour through my skin.
And you're clearly not hairless.
At least once a day until I sleep again, and that sleep will allow my skin to breathe
it has
water.
nothing to do with it. It's just after a long rest.
Okay, after I rest for a long amount of time.
After you binge a series on Netflix, you can do it again. Role-playing ideas. Casey, do you have anything role-playing for these guys?
I really like the idea of them having a familiar?
Familiar?
A familiar that is some sort of like Simic Hybrid artificer concoction of like a little, like, I don't know, it's got fins, but it was merged with a creature that has some legs that can run on the ground with it.
It's a baseball-sized apparatus of Qualish. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the little crab tank.
The little crab tank.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You won't know what we're talking about.
All right, so there is an item in 3.5. It may actually be in 5th.
It's in 5th edition as well. It's in one of the PDFs that you can find online.
It's essentially a large metal barrel that has 6 legs and crab claws at the front, and it looks like a crab.
Okay. Yep.
But you can fit, I think, up to 3 people inside of it.
Oh, geez.
And it's fairly impenetrable.
I think it's 4 people, and each one gets a lever, and you got to like use your turn to pull the lever so one leg moves.
But the levers do different things every round.
So like, no, that's what it was in 3.5. It's a little bit more streamlined now, but it still takes entire cooperation. But this thing also acts as a submarine.
Yeah, you can go.
It would have that, and it would make it better.
Yeah, but I feel like it would technically be a homunculus, but it would be like palm size and in the exact shape of the apparatus of Qualish. You should be like, why didn't you guys just figure this out? Jesus Christ, do you think Vedalken made Warforged?
A Vedalken artificer, yes.
I just
could be. No, you didn't.
I don't
think
Dave's
so.
I twitch a little bit. No?
No, actually, I did a lot of relating this to Eberron, as I do with everything. Even outside of D&D, but the like this whole Simic like mixing races and animals and stuff.
We've got species, mixing different species.
That's the one. We've got that in Eberron as well, right? Like there's the what are they called? The mage
Rot.
Rot. Where they like imbue magic into the creatures.
Rot, WROUGHT, not mage rot.
Okay.
But like,
Yeah,
Okay.
where they imbue magic. Anyway, I'm digressing. But anyways, there was a lot of familiarities. I guess if you were to put these guys in Eberron, they could have done something like that.
honestly, for role-playing these guys, I'm really thinking about the fact that they are emotionless but curious. And that, like, emotionless, they're not an android. They're just, like, the same tone for absolutely everything. Oh, it doesn't seem like we can get this door open. You must be very, very frustrated, but there has to be a right way. Keep trying different things. Oh, that looks like it hurts. Do you really need both your legs? Because I'm sure that you'll be absolutely fine. We can get you to the Simic Combine and get you something else, and you might actually be better for it. Like, oh, your whole family died. Think of the freedom that this could give you. And it's always the same, almost positive, but like just moving on to the next step. No time to grieve. No time to take it all in, just moving forward all of the time. This is why I say it's a Dan character, because it will push the fucking plot. Always. I also feel, Dave, like this could be a you character because they don't give a shit about a backstory. They're not there for themselves. They're there for the greater idea. You know how your Xanthos character was confidently incorrect? This one could just be confidently looking for the truth.
That's high maintenance. It's more work than I want to do as a player.
If you were a little bit more into taking notes, it might be...
Hold on. Into taking notes.
Sure, yeah. But, like, this would actually... This might be something that would be interesting for someone who was looking for plot over characterization, I would say. There are a lot of D&D players who just want to get to the next beat and not figure out how they felt in their childhood when their great uncle passed on and left the wand, the family heirloom to the cousin instead of, like, that's some people's idea. Charlie loves that shit, right? Like, Megan will write that shit down and promptly forget about it. Dan loves that shit, but then there are other people that are like Casey, just like random encounter me. I don't give a shit. Let me kill something.
Let's get on the road.
Please. I don't care about your life story.
And I actually think that that's probably when they're impatient. They would say exactly that, Dave. You might be blue WD.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could throw it as the like most uninteresting party member or the most annoying party member, but not regardless, extremely helpful to have in your party.
All right.
Especially because Sleight of Hand is on that list too, so like rogues want this.
Oh yeah, this is a roguey character.
Exploration, clues. Like, how do you know that one of these guys is around?
Everything works really well.
No door squeaks.
Yeah.
Right?
German efficiency.
We just keep coming back to that in this episode. Is Ravnica the German book?
The Guildmaster.
The Guildmaster? The Guildmaster will see you now. Yeah, maybe. Oh, shit. Although the cover of that is a little too sinister if it's German.
Yeah.
That's a little... The Führer!
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, then. Yeah, everything's just, like, super well constructed, and I would almost say, though, that, like, you're also going to find their hyper-focus might give them a little bit of the, not necessarily absent-minded professor, but, like, there's some shit that they don't care about. Like, there will be a stain on their clothing, and they don't give a shit about it. They're not going to do laundry for 3 or 4 days in a row, just because they're hyper-focused on reading these scrolls and getting to the next piece of information.
Yeah, I feel like these guys are going to be more logic than anything.
Yeah, what's the opposite of ADHD? That's these guys, right? Like, almost, I don't want to say quite OCD with their hyper-focus, but like...
But I feel like every work area is probably going to be immaculate. Everything's going to be clean, and they're going to have homunculi dusting and making sure that areas are...
They're all on fucking Adderall, right?
Yeah, and even... if you're going into, like, a community of these, you see, like, nice houses, and then nicer houses, then quite nice, and then mansions, and then it's like, as you go further and further in, because they haven't, like, destroyed and started over, but they've tweaked it every single time. And so you get to, like,
I love the idea that it's, like, the same one guy who just gave up on that house, and I can make it better, but I can start from the foundation. So next door, he starts constructing the next one. It's just the same house, just better and better.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just like, what the hell is going on here?
So we just discovered that they're also land developers. Okay. Do you have any combat ideas? Or like, what class or subclass really suits these guys?
Combating building codes.
No, they're writing the building codes.
Yeah.
It could play into a lot of them. I really like the idea of a rogue. I really like the idea of a bard just being like, I am going to tell you how to do all of this amazing stuff, and it legit is amazing.
But like, no performance. No, this bard does not get on a stage.
Yeah, it's just, no. I am going to tell you this.
Although, I think that maybe they would get on the stage if they're a politician. If they're on the Azorius Senate, right, and they're a lawmaker, and then there's an election going on in front of them, and everybody is like, I promise that I will give you... And they will just get up halfway through and be like, you know, if you would just not do this and focus on this instead, and just like, here, give me the microphone. Give me the microphone. One of you choose to do this, you will get voted in. Give me the microphone.
Filibuster supreme right here.
Absolutely. Yeah. I should not be allowed to play a Vedalken.
No.
I like these guys for wizards, especially like the Order of Scribes wizard makes a whole lot of sense. Arcane Trickster. I would take away the trickster side of it, but the spellcasting for these guys, plus the intelligence, plus the rogue and the sleight of hand, there's a lot of opportunities here.
Yeah, this one I feel like is much more open and versatile for connecting with classes than
I'm not going to get a barbarian, though, or a ranger out of this. Probably
no, you're not going to get martial classes. It's going to be spell casting and shadowy things.
Oh, you know what? I bet... No, a battle master would be fucking hilarious. If you would move 5 feet to your left, you'd do better.
Oh my god.
That would be so fucking annoying. I love that so much. Like, now I need to play that character.
No, you do not.
Any other thoughts about these guys before we wrap it up? Okay, let's take it away with the elephant in the room.
Loxodons! My fave! Only because I played one. Okay, Loxodon is the humanoid elephant. We all love elephants. We know them to be very large, community and family driven, protective, and also exceptionally smart with some personality as well.
Do they have long memories? I just need that out of the way right from the beginning. Did it say anything about it?
For Loxodon?
Yeah. Because an elephant never forgets is the phrase. Like
they did not mention it, but we will go with yes.
Okay. Good.
So the Loxodon is very closely like modeled after a real elephant, except they are bipedal, typically over 7 feet tall with an elephant head and feet and 4 fingers on each hand. They do have leathery skin of like the elephant as well. And Loxodons can also use their trunk as an appendage for holding food and liquid or to lift and carry heavier items.
Total sidebar, I found out today on Reddit that elephants have a prehensile penis and can scratch their own stomachs and swat away flies with it.
Can you not?
Oh my god, Dave.
Anyways, moving on.
Helpful.
Yeah, right?
Very helpful. I think I most appreciate that they have left the feet as elephant feet versus like putting them into a boot.
Yeah, do they have little like little cap booties that they would wear on the end?
Yeah, they might.
Like little slippers?
Yeah. But it's that round foot. And Loxodons are known to be peaceful until provoked. Like real-world elephants, they will put on an intimidating show of trumpeting and ear flapping to control the combative situation. So don't fucking piss them off. Things get scary. Their artisan guild is stonework, so that requires the patience and study, and they often are tasked with creating giant, beautiful stone structures for their or other spiritual leaders. So they are the ones like sitting around carving out some nice pieces of stone and just calmly, peacefully working, and you'll just go by this community just working happily.
They're like stone cutters. They're not like masons. They're more like an artisan, right? They're
like
carving.
Yeah,
okay.
Like I would say they're creating like the finishings on structures and things like that.
That's cool.
Is what I imagine it. With more creativity than just like, the brute like force that puts the giant stones in place.
This isn't dwarves going like, more columns. This is actual...
It was like gentle, fine work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they are noted in the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica that they are relentlessly loyal and value community and life. Hence, are most typically connected to the Celestia conclave, where all living beings live in harmony and help each other. So it's that same vibe of like druid and cleric, that type of thing.
Very divine magic.
Yeah. So going into a bit more detail with their sense of loyalty in the community, they will protect each other to death, with a bond to their group so fierce that they will sacrifice themselves to save the rest.
We've seen that in person, actually. Too soon?
Too soon.
Okay.
I wasn't there.
That's also too soon. And they would also expect any other member to do the same for them.
Now, when you say member, you mean member of the party, not the prehensile penis.
Not the prehensile penis. Yeah.
Although...
I do expect it's going to protect the party.
Moving on. You can imagine then that a betrayal would hurt very deeply to a Loxodon. The size of the community they wish to be in and support can drive the guild that they join. So the Celestia conclave is very, very large. It encompasses everything. So that is quite a daunting group to manage. Mm-hmm. But some guilds may have a more focused group. For example, the Orzhov Syndicate, where they basically just look after their own members as the priority. So that would be like just a more tight-knit community for them.
Yeah.
So you do see them elsewhere, just most commonly in the Celestia.
One of the other things, too, about Ravnica is that it says right in the book that you can get different people from different guilds together to make a party with a common goal. And I would assume that a Loxodon would then kind of adopt these people as their
community. Absolutely. Yeah. And so depending on the diversity in that group, it might be a bit shocking for other party members to go to the lengths of loyalty and protection that their Loxodon member will. So I created a Loxodon cleric named Zenti. Yes, I'm talking about it. So I leaned into the stereotypical role for this race. I made her very old, and it fit into the loyalty community vibe of the party. She was the grandmotherly type of character. It was lots of fun. It was lots of fun to play, and I don't want to talk about anything else because I no longer play her.
I will say this. She died like a boss. Yeah. Exactly the way that a Loxodon should.
Yeah.
And she squished a hobgoblin when she fell off a cliff and landed on him one time.
Yes.
And I have to say, that was the second time that I've had an elderly character in a party. And it is the most fucking fun. And if you listening to this have never had an elderly party member, fucking make one.
It's glorious.
It's a lot. And there's no big mechanical downside to it in 5th edition. So, like, go nuts.
No, there isn't. And it was the first time I'd been in a party with an elderly character, but it really gave that, like, soft, outspoken perspective that most PCs don't have.
Yeah, the murder hobos had to stop and listen. Perfect, because Megan's character, who you were protecting, you guys were so close, was young and impulsive and brash, wanted to fight everything. You're like, sweetie, sit down, not today. Yeah. Or you come back to me when you need to get healed, it'll be fine. Right?
Yeah. And it's like, hey, will you please just stay close to me? I need to look after you.
We would say that in combat. Shoot her on it. She's the monk. She's running away. You're like, no. Within 30 feet.
Yes, please. Yes, and elderly people also don't have a lot of fucks left to give. And so when I needed to be just like straight, be like, look.
Throw down. Yeah.
I remember you guys had a UNT captive and you had all the information you needed out of them. And like you were about to enter a place where the UNT could not go. No evil character could go in there. And you're like, well, we can't set it free and we can't take it in. And you're like, I'm going to take him behind the dune over there and just cave his skull in, and then we're good to go.
Yeah.
And you fucking did.
They did us wrong, so...
Yeah. Well, that betrayal, right?
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't fuck about with a Loxodon.
Yeah, it was really fun. And so if we are getting into some of the racial traits, so as Loxodon, your con score is increased primarily due to them being 7 to 8 feet tall, 300 to 400 pounds, though their size is still medium, which we already touched on, that issue.
Well, it's going to be Andre the Giant, right? He's technically a medium creature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you get con score increased by 2, and then you get your wisdom score increased by 1.
Which leans into the divine magic
Yeah,
side. Yeah,
absolutely. They have something called powerful build, meaning their carrying capacity is at large size, and you can push, pull, and drag what a large size creature can. So we kind of bitched about this earlier as a thing, but it's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm. So I gotta ask, did you know that while we were playing? Because it never once came up with you, but Dan told me every 3.5 minutes.
Yes, I knew, but I also wanted to play her as the old grandmother, and that she could if she had to, but there was also very large other players in the group, and so they would do it. So she kind of was like, yeah, it's fine.
I think 4 of the people there were over 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
4 out of 6, so yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, and, well, when you have a really strong bard, they're going to be like, oh, you know.
For those of you who are confused, Dan is playing a Furbolg bard, and the Furbolgs have the powerful build too, so that's
Yeah. And so, it didn't really come up because I just played it into her being the grandmotherly, like, character that people generally didn't make do all of that.
Yeah.
Unless she had to. You will also have what's called Loxodon Serenity, which gives you advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. I would like, so this is something that they don't have, but I would like them to be able to do a charge like a real elephant could, with like the flaring ears and
tusks going.
Yeah. And have that kind of an ability. And maybe there's even a save to that for being frightened or something like that.
That's what I was thinking.
Intimidation.
Like some sort of intimidation check.
Yeah. It's not listed, I'll say, but I think that could easily be one of their abilities.
There's a movement, there's an action you can do, and it's one of these maneuvers that people aren't aware that it exists.
Oh, charge?
Charge is an actual thing, right? That if you charge and you
have 10 feet of run up, you get to...
It's something like that, where you think you move half your movement speed in one direction, you can knock someone prone on a successful attack or something like that. So you could technically just do this anyway, but at that point you're giving up your regular action. If you have multi-attack or spellcasting, just to do that. Flavorful, neat, but I'm not sure I'd lean into it. It'd be cool to have it hard-baked. I think the Minotaur or the Centaur gets that, right?
Yeah, you're probably right. The thick leathery skin also gives you stronger natural armor. So your AC ends up being 12 plus your con modifier, and reminder that we have a +2 to the con, just for this. So you can use this for your AC even if you're wearing armor that would normally give you a lower AC. Sure. So it ends up acting like your minimum AC is 17, this instead.
Yeah. It's going to be 17 with a +5, so yeah.
So it's, pretty decent. In addition, using a shield applies as normal while just using your natural armor. So you can just use it. Loxodons also get keen smell because of that trunk. You have advantage on perception, survival, shut up, Dave, and investigation checks that involve smell. So I will say, unless your DM really does a whole big variety of descriptors on things and stuff, perception, survival, and investigation checks that involve smell don't necessarily come up that often.
I will say this, as the DM that was in charge of creating these things for Loxodon, by the time that I was thinking about the smell of a situation, it was going to be potent or obvious enough that everyone can smell it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? And then I would toss and Zenti really smells it.
Exactly.
Right? So
yeah, so sure, you get advantage on those, so you definitely are the one that smells it or whatever. But yeah, I feel like this is the yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah, the bullshit mechanic that everybody gets.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah. But the trunk. So the trunk is the nicest highlight for this race too. You can use it to snorkel.
You can also use it for cocaine!
Jesus.
Oh, yeah, I suppose you could. So, when you're like going down to find the Simic hybrids, you don't need water breathing. You just stick your trunk up.
As long as they're not any deeper than about 7 feet.
Exactly. Hilarious. So the trunk has a 5-foot reach and can lift the number of pounds equal to 5 times your strength modifier. So there is a limit to it, but yeah, like...
But your strength modifier is never going to be more than 5. Like, there are some shitty ways to get up to, like, a 24. So, like, it would be plus 7. So, 5 times 7 is only 35 pounds with it. So, you'll be able to, like, lift the gnome or the halfling or the goblin up.
But never...
But not the dwarf, right? Like...
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a trunk.
We just ruled it that it was as strong as your arms. And there were a couple of times where you were, like... trunk wrapped around that person as you were getting pulled and they were getting pulled and like we like chained some characters together and there was no problem with it being the flavor of the trunk. That was fun and memorable. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't just do that. Besides the fact that it's not going to be an extra attack. It's if you have shit in your hands, you can't swing a sword with your trunk.
Exactly.
Right?
So it can do the following tasks, which are a little bit more than the tentacles that are birthed out of the Simic hybrid. It can lift, drop, hold, push, or pull objects or creatures within that pound range. Open and close a door
within
or container.
That pound range is going to be the name of my next book.
Oh, I'm just nailing it today.
Really didn't think you were going to say book.
Can I continue?
You can continue. Okay. We will interrupt you again, but you can continue.
It can grapple someone or even make an unarmed strike. And it cannot hold a weapon or shield, but it can do a little bit more than just an extra tentacle.
Could you strap a buckler to it?
Okay, so bucklers don't technically exist. And no, I wouldn't allow that.
But it could open the door when your hands are full.
It's better than a claw.
Handy. Yeah. Or open your container of food for you when your hands are full. And you can actually just feed yourself while your hands are full.
Scratch your stomach and, swat flies away even.
Yeah. It's quite handy.
Yep.
That's one word for it.
All right, so ages. Loxodons physically mature at the same rate as humans, but they live about 450 years. So they highly value wisdom and experience and are considered young until they reach the age of 60. So, yeah, community-based, but peaceful, knowledgeable. They are just going to be friendly, learn stuff, and live for hundreds of years.
And not take shit off anybody.
No. And yeah, don't do anything to their community once they've deemed you part of the community. In terms of alignment, Loxodons are lawful. They just are.
It screams lawful to me.
Yeah.
And they are also peaceful. And so they are going to be good. Like, they could be neutral if there's some traumatic events that, they're going to occur. But you are not going to see this be an evil alignment. Languages, they speak Common and Loxodon, and they have a speed of 30 feet.
Loxodon has their own language?
They do.
What does that sound like?
A trumpet.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was going to say Welsh, Dave. What do you want?
Yeah, so that's essentially it. They have a few kind of cool extras. They are beefier, so they can, take more hits if they get into an encounter. But yeah, it's pretty simple.
I like them a lot. Let's grab dice for the questions.
If I'm first again.
But you tied Dave at 5. I'm going first.
Maybe. Fuck. You go first.
I'm going first. So quest or plot hook ideas for a Loxodon. I mean, it's all about family. I was just talking to Dan about this earlier. Actually, probably I think it was yesterday. The idea of I need to protect my newfound family is a decent enough reason to be with the party. Mm-hmm. That served you really, really well, especially at low levels when you guys were all getting your asses handed to you regularly. There was not a session where 2 people didn't go down unconscious death saves, and you were like right there as the Twilight cleric, bringing them back over. Yeah. The only reason you guys lasted as long as you did in the false Hydra fight was because of the "all right, everybody, stick with me, I will protect you" mentality of Zenti. Mm-hmm. So
I was confident running over and slapping a gelatinous cube because I knew that there was healing not too far away.
Which was hilarious because you had just smashed a shit ton of healing potions like the session before.
Yeah, it was only like level 2.
That was level 1. That was session 2. You ran across the shrine to Tiamat, but it happened to be full with a bunch of healing potions, and you're like, I'm gonna smash the shrine then. And then there's like 17 healing potions. I'm like, wow, that was gonna be your guys' way out of this dungeon, but okay.
And you never told anyone.
No, you never told me. The players were like, what the fuck?
Literally to the grave. Yeah.
No, I like it. It's clearly family is the plot hook here. Even when you're going to run into a Loxodon as an NPC, they're going to be fiercely loyal. You're not going to be able to bribe. You're not going to be able to, shit talk any of the other NPCs. They are going to be to the point and honest and not obnoxiously like lawful stupid.
No.
But they're definitely going to know where their allegiances lie, and they're not going to betray it.
Yeah. And this race has like traumatic backstory written all over it. So you could end up encountering one where some other like army or some other group has just like destroyed their community.
And this is why the community is so important to them?
Yeah. And so there could be a quest line, like either they join you or you gain their trust so that they have a new community, or you are now tasked to hunt down, like they need your help to hunt down whoever killed the rest of the community, all of that stuff.
It is built right in to have one of these things be, you you only have 3 players and you need that NPC healer.
Yep.
To follow them around. That could be a Loxodon very easily.
Yeah. Pulls on heartstrings. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that these, the Loxodons really feel like the leadership that an NPC would provide.
Yeah.
Right? When they need that little bit of guidance, like these are the guys you lean on. They're going to be very matter of fact. These are going to be your contacts. These are going to be the people behind the bar that have all of the information, that are the secret leaders of the secret organization, but are just your average day folk on the outside, right? Like they just scream.
Yeah, or the entirely trustworthy mayor. Yeah. When you walk in and talk to the mayor or the prince or whoever it is, and you just like
get that bad feeling about
you narrow your I'm sitting there talking to Mieka tonight about, you guys ran into a mind flayer NPC that like he was a merchant, but he happened to be a mind flayer. She's like, nope, don't fucking trust him. I'm like, so your previous character actually has run into this NPC in the past? She's like, oh yeah. And he gave you a bunch of good stuff, remember? Oh yeah. So, nope, still don't trust it.
But that's just you trying to set us up with like false perspectives on how good mind flayers are. So the next time we find a mind flayer, we'll be, oh hey buddy. And then Dan doesn't have a brain anymore.
Let me tell you something about Dan. He didn't have one to begin with. Anyway. This is what you get for leaving the podcast, you piece of shit. Anyways, so, no, the Loxodon is going to be that NPC that they're not going to narrow their eyes at. You can trust a Loxodon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like if you were to swap these into regular Faerun, a lot of them would be Harpers, right?
Yeah, they're going to be the good guys.
Yeah.
You want to know how I make an evil Loxodon? Intellect Devourer. Because you're not going to get it naturally with an actual Loxodon, right?
Yep.
Any role-playing idea? Oh, I'm talking to myself. Role-playing ideas for these guys. They can be the powerhouse in the room, but they won't be. They can be the strongest. They can be the loudest. They can be the most powerful, but they won't be. They will support you doing it. I also feel like if they could sit back and let somebody else do it, and I don't mean like because they're lazy, but because it's your turn to shine and spotlight. Part of protecting family is like mental health protection as well, right? Like it's going to be, I just support everybody in their endeavors, right? And some people are going to find that boring as fuck. That is a breath of fresh air when you've been playing D&D for like 20 fucking years. Having a supportive character, someone's not stealing the gold from the other party members. Yeah. After the amount of goddamn rogues I've had in my party, so glad to see a Loxodon.
Yeah, and it's really fun to do that. It's not boring. I was a little bit worried about just being like more of the supportive and boosting type, like with spells and what I'm doing as my main objective in combat. But I saved your guys' asses so much. It was like, yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was also very fun. It's like fun to do like in downtime, to be the one that might be entertained by everyone's antics, but very observant and probably gains the most allies, the most friends wherever you're going, can diffuse the situations that you're going into.
That's the other thing too with the wisdom bump. I mean, it's just a +1, but it's leading to your perception and your insight and all that other shit too, right? Like,
yeah,
you're aware of what's going on around you.
Yeah, you might spot the like one in the bar that you're supposed to keep an eye out for. You might get that.
Well, it also helps that you're towering over literally everyone else in the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that these guys are like the perfect information hub.
Sorry, towering over everyone else in the bar.
Get the fuck out of here. Tired of you. I actually had a 3.5 Loxodon that was named Babar, so...
Did you really?
It was a one-shot character like 10 years ago.
Okay.
You know how I am with originality in names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 10th character named Steve.
We do have Yek the 35th in our Thursday group.
I believe you.
But that's a different story.
Sorry, you were saying about the role-playing for them.
Yeah, they feel like these are the retired adventurer that's going to be the wealth of information behind the bar. When you're a low-level tier 1 party and you're coming in and out of that little town, they're going to be that staple featured behind the bar that makes sure that you have a warm room. They're going to make sure that your stuff stays safe, and they're very trustworthy.
And there's a warhammer hanging above the beer.
And when they have to pull that warhammer down, you best watch the fuck out.
Yeah.
Right? That's what these guys are going to do, right? And they're going to make some big final stand, and, you know, like, they're...
Just the incredibly soft-spoken giant missing a tusk with a giant scar over one eye. Right? Like,
Exactly.
has seen some shit.
Yeah, but the most gentle person in the world.
Yeah, just don't piss them off.
For exploration or clues, okay. We always knew when Zenti was around because I, as a DM, went out of my way to talk about, like, when she landed on the Hobgoblin. Like, just the sheer size of the Loxodon in the party. Stealth rolls for these guys are hilarious because whenever Zenti passed the stealth roll, in my head, she's tiptoeing on those round feet.
Yeah.
And like, it is pretty funny, but there's nothing saying that they can't be graceful as well, right? So, I just think that, yeah, you know when there's a Loxodon there. They make their presence known because, again, it's not that they're stupid. It's just they wouldn't have any reason to deceive you necessarily unless they had a damned good reason for doing it, right? So, I also, for all of these large creatures, if you go into their domain, like whatever their space is, their house, all the furniture is going to be bigger and it's all going to be super fucking well constructed.
Yeah.
Right? There's not a whole lot of flimsy things in there, unless those flimsy things are like ornamental. Like, oh, and look at these very interesting things that I picked up at this foreign land and I brought back here, right? So, but for the most part, it's going to be, well, but I mean, we skipped right over all the stone cutting shit too, right? So it's going to be large, but it's also going to be ornate and beautiful. I guess that's how you know that there's one nearby, is you just find little, like, rock chippings everywhere.
Yeah. And I think they're not going to go to a specific area to like sit down and do what they're gonna do. Like, they're going to be, like, sitting outside the grocery store or sitting in the town square watching whatever's going on and, like, chipping away at something. Or, like as an alternative to knitting. Or maybe they have, like, stone needles and they're knitting. Like, it's just, like, they're gonna be observing. You might not notice them right away, but they're going to be there, and then they might just already be, like, smiling at you when you finally look at them. Like, they're just going to be this calm, like, collected in nature all the time.
It's really interesting because I like these guys. We have too many charisma casters, and we have too many charisma-based playable races in the first place in 5th edition. There's a fuck ton of them. This is a very sociable kind of character with a bonus to wisdom, not to charisma. Mm-hmm. And I really like that because I could see them sitting in the town square, right? Just pulling a chair up, sitting on the edge of the fountain and spending every sunny day there, you know, when they're not working or adventuring or doing whatever it is they're doing, right? But they're not there to be the town crier or to, like, they want to know that you're doing okay.
Yeah.
But they're not there to, like, get your life story and fix all your problems and we're going to be best friends. It's just, oh, that's nice. They move on. I had a neighbor that lived across the street for the majority of my childhood. Dave, you might remember her. And she would sit outside, and every time that anybody walked by, she'd say, hey, how are you? And she would know everybody, but not really know anybody super duper well. She just knew everyone in the neighborhood at that base level of how are you today, right? And was super friendly and nice to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, even your friends that would go over, like, she would stop and chat them up.
Oh, shit, yeah. She knew Dan's brother better than she knew half the neighbors just because, fuck, that guy could stop and talk to anybody.
Mm-hmm. And often does.
Yeah, and it is mentioned as well, I missed talking about it, that they are lots of times heard, like, humming or creating...
heard.
Like, creating deep, rich tones and melody, like, just as they're sitting, doing their own thing,
just
they're
humming
meditating.
off of themselves.
Yeah, like, they have such a welcoming, peaceful nature to them all the time. And so you might even be walking through somewhere, and then your highest perceptive person
can hear in the distance.
Can hear it.
I'm blue, dabu dee dabu die. That's
wrong
three.
race.
That's three.
I hate it.
Stay tuned next episode for Cotton Eye Joe, motherfuckers. No, I like that. I like the idea that, I mean, Zenti didn't do that too much, but, like, the idea that they're always just kind of humming, and that's a happy nature to them, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Anything for combat for these guys? I love the charge idea.
Yeah.
I wish they had the ability to charge. There are some of the classes, the subclasses that can, like, you move and you get a bonus to an attack here, like the Battle Master shit, but, like, it's not the same. Not really. As far as the different subclasses or classes I see for these guys, clerics, clearly clerics. If you wanted to be a little bit more fighty, you go War Domain. If you would, there's a cleric for everything, right? So you could really do whatever you wanted with clerics. But I also see, like, fighters. You could get a barbarian. Can you imagine one of these things raging?
Yep.
Yeah, and so you could really lean into the, like, don't piss the Loxodon off, because the rage will be intense.
Yeah, I'm not really getting a whole lot of arcane spellcasting out of them, though.
No, but I think you could.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to get there. The stats don't line up, but...
They do seem more divine than arcane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think these guys would be cool rangers, too.
Yeah.
And it could be really fun to play one as, like, a more dexterous class like Monk. Like, they have the ability to take more hits. They have a higher con. They have the natural armor, which gives them a boost when a monk won't be wearing a lot of heavy armor.
Is it barbarians that add con to their AC?
I believe so.
Yeah, so, like, that suits for them, right, as well.
Yeah.
And, I mean, all of your marshals want the con bonus, right?
Yeah. So it could be that, and it could be really entertaining to see someone come up and try and whack this one, and then it just, like,
because of the prehensile trunk.
Yeah. And then it just throws a punch, like, at hip into the face of, a human.
Just flicks its finger and the gnome goes flying.
Yeah, be entertaining.
No, there's no gnomes in this.
Right. Well, not anymore. The Loxodons
we're
watching where they were walking. So
I like the idea of throwing maybe a rat swarm, but a mouse swarm at a group full of these guys and watching the mayhem happen. Right, building a mechanic there that just makes them freak out.
No, because then what happens is they're going to go charging through the ravine, and the Leonin's dad dies.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about classes for these? I really do like Ranger. The idea of these guys being stealthy and having passed without trace is pretty funny and flavorful for me. Anything else? I mean, the stonecutters could be artificer flavor. Imagine one of these guys in an Iron Man suit.
Oh my god.
Like the armorer.
It's just like the Hulkbuster suit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
right?
what it would be.
That'd be pretty cool. Okay. Any final thoughts on any of them before we wrap up this episode? All right, so before we do that, though, let's cut to an ad break.
If you've been inspired by the conversation in this episode, please feel free to reach out and share your creativity and ideas with us and the rest of the community. You can reach us on Facebook and Instagram or on our subreddit, r/itsAmimic, where we keep a place for you to ask mailbag questions as well as our episode guide. Also, if you're feeling particularly generous, please follow and subscribe and leave us positive reviews, likes, and comments. Engagements like that help us pop up on search engines and keep this show running.
Final thoughts. If you're going to pick a race, don't pick the one that can kind of breathe underwater for like an hour. It's just stupid.
You're just not letting that go, huh?
No, it's stupid. It's a dumb mechanic that they're like, oh, we've got this really cool race that did it exist in Magic before? Is that why we got it in this? Like, I don't know that.
Yes, absolutely.
Like that's the only reason we got this.
Yes, it is one of the natural.
So what is something that we can give them that isn't necessarily already in D&D? Here we go. Like it seemed so.
They just feel like they've evolved from salamanders. That's all that this is. They're hairless. They've got the broad nose, the no ears, and they've got like the funky tinge to their skin coloring, and they can kind of amphibiously breathe underwater for short periods of time. They're salamander people. That's what they are.
Okay, so they can go up to an hour at a time. So, but it's only once per long rest, right? Yeah, no, so I'm saying. So if you're like, if you're laying in water for like an hour and you decide, wait a sec, I'm going to breathe through my skin. Well, fuck, now I can't do that again today. I got to have a long rest now.
No, okay. Look, don't you think that there are going to be some silicone-based life forms out there that look at you and be like, wait a minute, you can drink a whole like 3 gallons of water and then you've got to stop until your body can process it, you can piss it out? Isn't that a ridiculous backwards kind of evolution, you fucking weird carbon-based life form?
No, because I can do more than an hour at a time before I gotta have a long rest. Like I'm never going to. It will be very fucking hard to die by drinking water, right?
Oh, it's possible.
I'm not saying it isn't, but you're gonna have other like you're not gonna fit that much water in you first.
Well, it's the same thing. Like how much water do you think they can fit inside their skin that they're absorbing? See, I don't know. I'm absolutely fine with this. You have a problem with it, and I'm cool with it.
It's not that they're absorbing it; they're breathing through it. It's the idea that they've got this like built-in air filter through their skin, but it can only absorb so much, and then the filter's full, and now we got to drain the filter again. That's fucking stupid. Just let them do it for twice as long as a normal person.
I love the idea that maybe they do this for an hour, and then everywhere they step, it's like their skin is spongy. And so they're just leaving like
wet footprints.
Wet footprints. They sit in a chair and it's just like maybe it doesn't take a full long rest. Like maybe you can do a pretty.
Oh, hey Bill, looking awfully moist today. Oh, I was breathing the hot tub again.
No. I love the idea of like the Loxodon picking him up and wringing him out, and there we go. We can do it again. Anyways.
Oh my god.
Let's wrap this shit up before Dave has another conniption.
So, that's all for our discussion on Vedalken, Loxodon, and Simic Hybrid. Make sure you subscribe or follow, and check back regularly to see what inspirations and insights we'll have for you in the future.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. If you'd like to support us, we have a donate button on our website, www.itsamimic.com, a store with some It's a Mimic merch, and a Patreon. This episode and others can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and most other podcast apps. Thanks again for listening to It's a Mimic. where you never know what you're going to get. And if you send us money and also send me a note, I will buy as many copies of Eiffel 65 CDs as I can find to give to Dave. That's my guarantee. Just let me know that that's what the money's for.
And join us next week when we're all yellow.
Well, it's that Coldplay CDs, Dave.
Could be.
This has been an It's a Mimic production. Please check the show notes for this episode to see links, time codes, and credits. And don't forget to reach out and share your own inspirations.
I cannot keep up with you two. Oh my god.
A lifetime of practice.
Cold open. Cold open.
Yes, and a cold open. Okay.
Hey, do you guys think we
You know
should
what would be a really stupid ability for a creature?
Do you guys think we should breathe through our skin?
If you could breathe through one appendage. Wait, no.
No.
Oh my god.
Like a snorkel.
I really like this snorkel. Okay. Okay.
You gotta lean a little bit closer.
Would you rather... No, I don't know. Okay. Whoa. This is hard to do at the end.
Oh, it's worse at the end. When we used to leave it to the end, people would be fucking flabbergasted.
Okay. Okay, well, let's see. The episode did not help. Let's go with what you had said at the beginning about... Okay, what's your favorite... Okay.
The blooper reel is going to be hilarious. Okay.
I've been going in so many
You sound like Joe Pesci. Okay.
Hey, fuck you with the cell phones.
Well, that's it. Fly, my little dragons. Have a fantastic day.